All right, this is actually the homework worksheet 12 and 13, but there are some that are kind of confusing, so since it's a work day, we're going to answer a few questions. The first one, I think the second one is actually easier than the first one. The first question says a Ferris wheel has a diameter of 100. Okay, my super fancy Ferris wheel over here is kind of hard to tell what's going on because it's so fancy dancy, but all the way across there is 100 feet, okay? If it goes around 2.5 revolutions every minute, so how long does it take to go around once? Crickets? Yes. How did you get that, Sam? Okay. It does 2.5 revolutions every minute, and we want 1 revolution. So in 2.5 revolutions, it was 1 minute, but just so that he didn't have a tiny decimal, Sam was thinking, and he switched this to 60 seconds. So 60 divided by 2.5 is... So the answer to part A is 24 seconds. What? Is that better? I thought that was a tricky question. Most, like the second question, it just tells you, I think. Yeah, it makes 1 rotation every 4 minutes, so the period's just 4 minutes on number 2, okay? Not as complicated. All right, in order to graph the height of a seat on the Ferris wheel, we need to find the amplitude. What is the amplitude of this, and what does it represent? It is 50 feet. Yeah, it's the radius, otherwise known as the middle to the outside. Good job, guys. All right, assuming the seat Rashetta's using to graph the height starts 4 feet off the ground, okay? This is where students got a little confused because they wanted to say the maximum height was 100 feet. Yeah, because he starts 4 feet off the ground and he's headed up. And if you look again at my Ferris wheel up here, if he starts 4 feet off the ground and then he goes a diameter of 100, this max value down to the ground is actually 104. Are we okay? Yes, once around is 24 seconds. So I did it as a negative cosine because it goes min to min. Okay. Can you guys do the equation from there? Max plus min divided by 2 will find you the midline. Max minus min divided by 2 will find you the amplitude. The period's 24 seconds, so B will be 2 pi over 24 or pi over 12. Needs a vertical shift but not a phase shift as long as you're doing negative cosine, right? Yes. Say that again, I'm sorry. Your equation will have a pi in it, not the period. Yes, yes. Yep, 2 pi over 24 or pi over 12, yep. And we didn't do a phase shift, so I guess I really didn't need 2 parentheses, sorry. Yep. Anybody else have a question on that one? I think number 2 is a little clearer because it tells you outright the period is 4 minutes. Do you want me to let you work for a couple minutes, or you want me to do another icky one? Because I know there's another icky one. Since I'm recording, would it be okay if I went to number 5 real quick, guys? I know, don't hate. Sorry. It says we drove through some paint, okay? I know, what's that look like, a Corvette front end maybe? We drove through some paint. Hopefully it was not much so that it's not splashing onto our paint of our car, right? But we got paint on our tire. And just for fun, we're going to graph the height of that paint as it goes around the wheel because we're little math nerds, right? All right. The height in inches is given by this equation. What can you tell me about that if I graphed it? Because that will help us immensely. The amplitude is 8. What else? It's upside down cosine. Yep, so the shape is going to be like this. Vertical shift of up 8. So that helps us with the first two questions. Where are the maxes and the minimum values? If it was a vertical shift of up 8 and its amplitude is also 8, 16 and 0. All right, and it was an upside down cosine, so it's doing this. When does it finish? What's the period according to the equation? 2 pi. So this is 2 pi. There really isn't a very good application-y kind of number. I don't know what that means. Well, I kind of do. What is 2 pi? About 6.28 or little over 6 1/4. So that's how many seconds, because it says seconds over here, it takes to go around once. I'm just trying to give you a better idea of what that's really saying. All right, so part A, what's the maximum height the point on the tire of where the paint is actually goes? What? Oh, it says question, or part B, part C, yeah, I think it's misnumbered and I fixed it later. Anyway, the one that says maximum height would be what? Yep. 16 inches. The minimum would be 0. How many rotations does the tire make in a second? Okay, it makes 1 rotation every 6.28 or 2 pi seconds. Is that right then? If I just take the label off, that's the part of a rotation it makes per second, right? So if you want a decimal for that, you divide. And it is 1 divided by 2 pi if you wanted a nicer, fancier, exact answer. So in a second it goes, remember if you were doing it, you'd need the parentheses actually just around the bottom. 1 divided by 2 pi, and you can leave it, I don't care, but I'm just trying to make it a decimal. Might get an answer? I got 0.159. Yeah, okay. So roughly 0.6 if I round. Rotations per second. So what that's saying is in a second, it goes like this far around. Okay? This part of a rotation. All right. Then what does it ask? Okay, what are we going to do with 30 seconds? You just told me it goes 0.16 of a rotation per second. We want to know what happens in 30 seconds. Well, that's about 4.77 rotations. But if we want to know the actual distance around the outside that it traveled, okay, not just how high up and down it went, that's an arc length. So we need a radius. What's the radius, guys? 8 inches. And the angle in radians. Well, Can't we change rotations to radians because we're just geniuses? Okay. So, let me see if I can, maybe I'll erase my circle here. So I have 4.77 rotations times what? 1 rotation is 2 pi radians. Someone is awake back there. Times 8 inches. Will we have an answer in inches now? Magical radians will disappear. It actually should come out 240, I think, because that 4.77 was actually 1 over 2 pi, so the pi would cancel, but I'm sure we'll get close enough. All right, so we got around 240 inches. What would that be in feet? 20 feet, okay. So the actual paint around the edge traveled 20 feet. How far does the marked point travel in 1 hour? So right now we know 240 inches. In how long though? Yeah, 30 seconds. So now we just need to do a bunch of converting. We got to do inches to feet and somehow get it to hours. Is it underneath?
Yeah.
Yours is it say B, C, D?
Yeah, and then E has both of them.
Oh, E has both of them stuck together? Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Always.
She is never wrong. She's a saint.
No. And you're delusional. Can I help? Is anybody stuck on anything else? Yeah, this looks really confusing because this answer actually goes up here, right? Not here. Here you need to do some like, we could do that one, right? Seconds in an hour if we wanted to be really fancy. And then 1 foot is 12 inches, and then we wouldn't need this extra blank. I'm always not that smart, and I do seconds to minutes and minutes to hours, but should be 2,400, I think. Feet per hour. All right, I'm going to quit recording unless someone's got another question. I can always restart it if we end up doing something earth-shattering. Hope you're feeling better, Faisal, if you're watching. Thinking about Julia. All right, we did fix and finish question 1 here, or at least write the equation. Sam's question, guys, is about worksheet 13B, number what?
9.
Number 9, okay? There are several that have this concept of, shh, guys, please. There are several questions on here that have this concept that things are periodic over the course of a year or time like that. Like, it says the population of an insect species in a stand of trees follows the growth cycle of a particular tree species. The insect population can be modeled by a function where T is the number of years since the stand was first cut in November of 1920. So we're going to start with our time at November of 1920. Okay, trying to find my cursor here. I somehow turned Smart Ink off. Awesome. All right, sorry about that. What is the maximum insect population? If the maximum insect population occurs every year, what is the period? So the period is a year, right? Which would make B what? 2 pi. If the population reaches a maximum of 70, please be quiet, at 3 months, and then it says back here to use 0.25 of a year, so apparently we're supposed to stick to years. So there's a maximum right there. What does this represent? So 70 insects or insect species. In 3 months after we started, which would be what? This November to December, January, February of 1921. Was a good year. No, I'm not really that old. All right. If the minimum occurs 6 months later of 10 insects. Okay, 6 months later, guys. We're in years. Half a year. Is this 0.5 though?
No.
Yeah, it's half a year later, so this is 0.75. So there's our graph, badly drawn. So what does this tell us? 10 insects in February plus 6 would be August, maybe? Write an equation. Okay, so are we okay for that part? Okay. Does anyone else run into a question? I feel like there's some like this that are actually in months instead of years. This one is in months, number 8. Is there another one? Maybe not. All right. Gonna quit recording here.